Okay, another week. Well, it was a big win for our program, and a couple things we'd like to just talk about. First of all, in a close game, and I really felt going into the game that it was going to be close. Certainly playing at home had an impact. There's great energy in the crowd, and there's no doubt our players fed off of that. So I want to say thanks to the people who came to the game, particularly the students. I thought they were phenomenal. In close games, turnover margin's usually going to have a big impact in the ball game. And we won the turnover margin there. And we did score on defense, even though it was very late. That certainly got some national exposure. People want to know if I can do that safety dance. That we did, but I'm not doing that. We created field position in the kicking game. I thought our punter did an excellent job, and Cooper had some real timely field goals, and so all those points count. And then the bottom line is our playmakers made plays. And going into a game like that, your guys who every player out there counts, but your dudes that they need to show up, and those guys did. And so it was a big ball game. Certainly was memorable from my standpoint, and a lot of fun. And it's neat to see how the state has embraced the Cowboys, and that one's behind us now. Now we're on to Utah State, and we're striving to get to 1-0. I think a couple things. Many of the guys, people were here last year. They rolled up on us. They had 58 points, almost 600 yards total offense. A lot of those playmakers are back. So Myers, a quarterback last year, I think was 16 for 18 or something. Had a phenomenal day. The running backs are all back. We had a hard time tackling. I understand that's last year, but I want to just make a point. They have really good players. They're big and strong on defense up front. Some linebackers doing a great job tackling. I think they're excellent in the kicking game as well. Their field goal kickers got a high percentage, and their punter's done a nice job. And so we're really pleased that it's at home. I want to encourage our fans. I know it's late. 8:15 for the older people. Just set your clock back to 6:15 and make believe that you can be young again and go out there and yell. But there was no doubt. It was one of the times I remember the noise really started to have an impact in the ball game, and so that's fun to see. So at this time, I'll open it up to any questions anybody might have out there.
Coach, Utah State at press conference just a few minutes ago, and there's a player that was saying that we're playing with mojo. We have swag right now, and that we believe in our abilities, and that confidence is carrying us. Can you just comment on that confidence?
That's what they're saying they have?
Mm-hmm.
Utah State?
Yep.
Well, I think mojo does make a difference, and confidence does make a difference. They've got playmakers, and they're a good football program. I know they've been one of the top teams vying for, the top of the heap in our conference. And so, but I think we're playing with a great deal of confidence, too, and those are great storylines for college football.
You mentioned, Utah State's got a lot back. I know they've struggled this year, but aside from the San Diego State game, they've been close. So
yeah.
What's the biggest difference? Is there some injuries, or what's the biggest difference?
Well, they've encountered some injuries, but sometimes it's just one of those years the ball bounces one way or the other. They're a really explosive football team. We're going to have our hands full. Like I said last year, it wasn't even a close ball game. It was over early, and we'll have our hands full, and we can't tell where they're at, but we got to make sure we're on the right track. You always get a little bit concerned when you have a young football team, and we are young. When you come off an emotional win like we did, sometimes emotions run high and then they can run low, and we need to be steady. And I always say that there's a difference between playing with great emotion and enthusiasm. Emotion will go up and down, where enthusiasm and passion and love for the game is going to keep you consistent, and that's what we need to strive for.
Greg, the paradigm has now shifted significantly. You go from being the hunter to the hunted because you're at the top. Difference there?
Well, we can't perceive how other people view us. I can tell you this: we are really focused and locked in on. We got to get to 1-0. We got to 1-0, and I told our coaches, if that means somebody eats a worm, we do whatever we got to do to get to 1-0. And so, hunted and hunted, all that really doesn't matter. We're focused on Utah State, and it's been my experience when you take those things one game at a time, that gives you a chance for long-term success.
Coach, you talked a lot about how you thought this team had a chance to be a special team and all that. When did you really get a sense that this team had that in them? When did that happen, you think?
Couple things. I turned to our DFO in the middle of the first quarter against Northern Illinois, and I looked at him and I told BV, we're better. And I just sensed that during fall camp, but you really don't know. You always get guarded as a coach because, sometimes you're going against the same guys every day and you're in camp. But at that time, I knew we were better. Where I saw that we were going to have a special chance was when we won the Northern Illinois game, and that was a back and forth battle, and how we came about it and how we won it. That showed me that this team has got tremendous resolve, confidence, never say quit. And, not everything's gone perfect. The Eastern Michigan game was a disappointing game. We lost a close, emotional game. We go to Nebraska, and we're in the middle of a dogfight going in the fourth quarter, and things blew up. But this team has continued to come out to practice on Monday. So the long answer to your question, it was Northern Illinois, but what the reason for that is his ability, and then the confidence to just keep playing when things may not go your way. Last Saturday, we make a decision to 4th and 1 to go for it, and we get stuffed. Bad deal. Then they take it 99 yards. Really bad deal. And you're getting down 14 twice. Those are the things that make this team special.
Coach, cornerback, how do you feel like Robert did in his first start of the year?
He did well. We're going to continue to rotate guys in there. He'll start again this week. We were pleased with how he did. Let's not make light. Boise State has really good players, and I'm sure Coach Harson's got those guys grooved, and they'll be ready to bounce back. But we appreciated how Robert went out and performed and battled. But nonetheless, we're still going to play Antonio Hall, and it was great to see Rico come up with a big pick.
Greg, you mentioned last week, or Saturday, you're down 14-0. Arguably the other biggest win, Colorado State, you're down by 2 scores. What does that tell you about your team that they didn't panic in either of those games and found a way to eventually come back?
I think a lot of it starts with those assistant coaches, when they're in the meeting and on the practice field, to stay poised, to stay consistent, believe in the system, believe in what we're doing offensively and defensively. Beyond a lot of times we're down, we got a score. I thought really was a huge factor in the ball game defensively in the second half. We made some adjustments. Those guys, they didn't move the ball much second half. So believing in the system and believing in each other. And the harder you work, the more emotionally invested you are, the harder it is to cut loose of the rope. That's just a fact. I mean, I've been coaching a long time, and the more you invest and the more you believe in one another, it's harder to ever give up the rope. And when teams don't have that mentality, it's easy to turn around and quit. And this team has shown the resiliency not to do that.
Greg, disciplined football game for you guys on Saturday.
That was, yeah.
And I'm wondering if you could also, what you've seen on tape from the game to now, and Brink and Jolly.
Yeah, Brink did really well. Going into the ball game, he was a backup player, and here's a case in point. During the game, I'm always I don't call plays. Occasionally I'll make a couple suggestions, but I don't call plays. Just monitoring the game. But you're getting feedback, watching different players, and his name never came up. It came up a couple. I shouldn't say never came up a couple times for doing a couple good things, but typically it's like, oh my goodness, this guy got beat or that guy got beat. Never came up. So I know that in the locker room, we have a couple traditions, and one. We broke tradition, and all the players start chanting his name, and so it's neat to see.
Coach, did Ryan end up undergoing surgery on his foot?
Yeah, I think it was going to be done today, but I'm not sure. If it's not today, it's tomorrow. But yeah, the surgery is going to happen.
How was the injuries, other than anything new injuries?
Yeah, Shiloh Windsor will be under concussion protocol, and so. Those are things that are dictated by how he responds, and we'll keep you abreast as the week goes along. But he did not finish the game.
Coach, if you give me a second just to get through this a little bit, because I'd really like to get your response.
Okay.
Obviously, it was a great weekend, And before the game, there was the groundbreaking of the new high
Yeah.
altitude performance center. And you mentioned you got a little emotional.
I did.
During that time. With a winning football program comes rumors, and names are starting to circulate. Last week, your name came up with a potential job opening, and I won't mention the school. I think you are aware of that. But when we talk about this program continuing to get better, and we talk about your role in the movement to raise the program's profile, I'd like to know, how important is it to you that, because to me, you seem like a very principled man, and how important is it to you to see this job through to its completion? And if there's other rumors that might come up, like the one last week, what would you say to the fan base about this?
Here's what I'm going to do with rumors, because they're always going to swirl. I'm not going to make a comment about any potential employment opportunities. That's just that's a standard boilerplate answer.
Sure.
Those things aren't going to come up. Those tears that I shed, I'm not going to apologize about those tears. That come from my heart. You know, when you're passionate, sometimes tears come out. And I think about people in our state. You know, last year there were a lot of naysayers that were out there. I can tell you the McMurray family never wavered. Governor Meade never wavered. And there's a whole countless group of other people. And I'm firmly convinced there's greatness here. You know, I sat out in the lawn chair with Bob Devaney, and he talked about Wyoming. And for us to return Cowboy football back to national prominence, when that's done, then I'll look and say, you know what, in my little small world, we did some good things for the University of Wyoming. We're a long ways away from that. But I believe that we can return Cowboy football back to having national relevance. And I know this, as we're in the USA Today, that's one small step beyond this media conference, okay? Any other questions? Okay, we have some people on the line. Anybody have?
Nick Cosmeter with the Denver Post.
You bet, Nick.
Congratulations again on Saturday night. When you beat a program of such national prominence, Boise State's such a well-known name, what does that do additionally, just in addition to putting you guys in first place in the Mountain West and giving you all that lies ahead? What else does that do, just beating a team of that brand?
Well, it rebrands us. I can tell you that. You know, our profile began to change from being regional to national, and sometimes that comes about through different avenues. But it changes. I mean, we're relevant as far as on the national scope with that win, and that's just one win. It has a huge impact in recruiting. Many of the recruits that have been on the fence now are saying, hey, we want to move my visit up, but are excited about it, because I think all the talk that we were talking about laying a great foundation, I think people are starting to see where the foundation has been laid and the trajectory of the program can go. So it changes the profile. There's no doubt that win. You know, I told a lot of our fan base, there will come a time where you'll be in the stadium and it'll be a special win. And I don't know when that's going to be, but some of the guys that are in the room remember me saying that. Well, that win happened Saturday night. That changed a lot of things. And that's by no means am I saying we've arrived, but it has changed how our players see themselves. To a certain degree, I think it certainly changed how we're viewed nationally, and it gives a real shot in the arm for our program.
How much does Brian Hill represent some of the stuff you're talking about of laying a foundation, because he came through and performed the way he has, even when you guys weren't getting the results that you necessarily wanted? How does he just represent your program and this turnaround that you've been able to author there?
Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge Tom Berman, because he was the one that reached out and took a chance on a guy from North Dakota, an FCS coach. And he said, Coach, we want to play Cowboy tough football. And beyond a slogan on a T-shirt, I think Brian Hill embodies Cowboy tough. When I say he's relentless, that's how he is. Everything he does is relentless. He plays the game with that type of attitude. Now we have some more pieces in the puzzle around him, but his burning desire to be an ultra competitive guy is that's what it really represents. And when the chips are down, Brian never wavered. He kept on running hard, and we've got some guys that are moving people out in front of him, and he's still moving the pile. So I think he's relentless, and I think he's starting that's beginning to spill over within our football team, that we have a relentless Cowboy tough football team.
My last question for you is whether do you guys talk about conference titles? I know you mentioned 1-0 every week.
Yeah.
As you guys get closer and those things become more achievable, do you start talking about them, or how do you handle that?
That's a little bit of a measured response, because any coach that's out there, you take one game at a time, and you set goals at the beginning of the year. Some things are really entrenched. Our players, I know, really had a desire to go to a bowl game this year. That was really important. But I do want to make note of this, is within our facility, within our locker room, within our indoor practice facility, we put words up when we first got here saying that those who stay will be champions. Now, those are just more than words. And a lot of guys that were part of this senior class are no longer here. And we talked before last week that, there's championship ability here. Now we got to go out and earn it on the field.